Yeah, everyone, this is Thermite, and this is Chainsaw Man, the movie, Reze arc. This is the discussion. The actual the reaction is down below. Please check it out. Um, this is so funny because I was doing the discussion and then I stopped and I was like, oh, I can do this as a redirect. Well. You'll watch the whole reaction. Go watch the reaction first, then watch this redirect. This is just, the scattered extra thoughts, I suppose. 10 out of 10. Incredible movie on all fronts. The music, incredible. The OST, fantastic. I think they also, just to talk about it, as a whole, because, I don't want to just, go over what the plots. I think you got enough of that from the reaction itself. I think I said more or less everything I wanted to say in the moment. I think it was really interesting in how, by the nature of them, adapting it pretty straightforwardly, the pace of the movie is really interesting. God damn. When does the bite happen? It's here-ish. So that's 46 minutes. So we still have over half the movie left when the bite happens. Yeah, it's a little more even there, but basically half the movie. That's crazy to think about. Because that's a real, first half is, it is this quasi-romance. Second half, one fight scene, basically. We cool down, we have ups and downs, but it's basically a really long fight scene and then the epilogue. You know what this reminds me of, actually? Woman who's only ever seen 2 movies? It reminds me a little bit of the structure of Dragon Ball Super Broly. In that Broly starts off with entirely a a prequel story, and then we get to current day, and then current day is basically lead into fight scene for 1 hour, end of movie. The structure feels it's not exactly that similar, but it's that level of atypical. I was just about to say I don't think I've seen another movie with this kind of structure, but I mean that would be it. I think it works really well. I do think it leads to it being kind of uneven. But that's also the nature of the story. So much of the first half, and that didn't quite work on me because I knew what to expect. But so much of the first half is built around this idea of you think this is going to be a smaller scale story. And I suppose by the nature of it being a movie, it probably, baits you into going well, this probably isn't that small scale. But even then, I'm very curious as to how they promoted the movie, because I think you could cut together a trailer that just uses stuff in the first half. You could sell it as the reason this is the Reze arc is because it is the story of Denji's romance, which it also is. Legitimately, even with part 2, having a fair bit of relationship stuff in it, I do still think of the Reze arc as being the romance in the entire series. I don't know if I've ever really put together that her apron when she's on the job is supposed to evoke the I forget what that's actually called, but essentially the fuse apron she wears when she's full bomb. Oh, but yeah, great. Also. Ooh, yeah, thinking of it as a movie, thinking of it as a full contained package, it does I think make it very interesting that we start off with Makima's ideal dates. Her ideal date is we are going to for 12 hours hop from from cinema to cinema, and we're going to watch a ton of movies, and I expect most of them are not going to be very good. And as we know from the end of the series, she isn't having fun with those movies. Her mindset is I will watch all of these movies because if I see one really good movie, that does make it worth it. But, she's not even someone who enjoys the sensation of going to bad movies. She goes to a movie, watches it, doesn't enjoy it for 2 hours straight, walks out, goes, that was bad, I got nothing out of that, moves on. It is, I'll give you that, it's a real Makima-ass date. And it does, I think it does sell her actual personality. Something I had to think about for a lot of the series was the question of, how manipulative is she being in any given situation? How much of her can you trust? And I think ultimately, like the entire movie date she had with Denji, I don't think she really lied there at all. There's some lies via omission and whatnot, but I do think genuinely, she does do this when no one's around. I think starting the movie with the parallel of like the Hayakawa households and how fun and lively and exciting it is. Like I really, 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 enjoyed contrasting that with Makima's life, where like there's nothing going on. And like we didn't even see the dogs, but I think that was very intentional. That was to sell that feeling of like the Hayakawa household is cluttered and messy, and like they're all punching each other, but they're having a good time in their own way, even if they wouldn't admit it. It is generally fulfilling. Whereas Makima is fulfilled by this life in which she has, full control. She's eating the proper foods, but like, she's fulfilled. She's not happy. Like similarly, it's seeing that she is a cinephile, but that like it boils down to she only wants to watch good movies, but she's not going to not watch bad movies. She will simply keep on watching them until she gets the one that she likes. Like I've had a pretty complicated history with movies, so I can definitely relate to like in general, there's not a movie I really dislike. There's a few that I think may have not been like fully worth it, but it's pretty tough to make me say I don't like a movie. And like I would not want to live in a world with no bad movies. Whereas like Denji, I think similar, like, he's really souring on the experience by the end, but not in a like hard negative way. He's enjoying just being on a date with Makima. Whereas like I don't think she's necessarily enjoying having a date with Denji. It is simply, well, this is a thing that I do like doing. I want to share this experience with you. Because also, like, you've got someone inside you that I want to be closer to. The little detail of her like sniffing the heart was fucking crazy, and it is the perfect like so much of the added texture in this movie plays one way. I imagine the first time you see it, in the same way that the arc itself plays one way when you go through it the first time, and then it still plays so well no matter how much more context you get. Fujimoto is a really fucking good writer, it has to be said. And I really do love the way we contrast, like, Makima's date with Denji with Reze's dates with Denji, where, they are both also giving off this, like, superior vibe. The difference being, I do think, like, how do I put it? Makima is being relatively normal about it. It's just that, this is where she's at right now. And especially with Denji, like, what does she think about Denji? She doesn't. Not really. She doesn't think about him. Whereas Reze is trying really hard to be, the manic pixie dream girl. Like, she's really playing into it. It's why, like, the movie works so well as this, like, this, like, the fantasy romance. Because that is what she is trying to construct. She wants to give Denji that feeling of, the girl who, is so into you, and she's so out of your league, but she's fascinated by you, and she's really into you, and she's pushing really, really, really hard to get you to open up, and she likes your jokes, and she's got a dumb sense of humor, too. Though genuinely, I don't think, the dirty jokes are like just the thing she was doing to get to Denji. In the same way that, I think a lot of what she was doing was more genuine than she would want to admit. I think she also likes dirty jokes. I think genuinely she might be the most Denji-pilled character in the entire series outside of Denji. Like, that's why it hurts so much. Both throughout, no, this isn't going to work out, but also to see, even, like, in her performance, that feeling of, she is slipping. That she should have, like, done this all on the first day. That, she even had this almost, like, this, like, perfect moment where she met Denji for the first time. She could have instantly killed him and ripped out his heart in that phone booth. No one was really around. Like, maybe if she had simply done that and then, exploded her way back to the Soviet Union, it would have been fine. Like, I do think, like, giving her the flower really saved his entire life. And, it's not something he was trying to do in a manipulative way. Like, she was really taken aback. He really did just vomit up a goddamn flower for her. A, of course, unchewed flower. Insanely big foreshadowing. Crazy. Fucking insane, actually. And yeah, like, specifically her calling out on the beach. Like, oh, the smile, the blush, all of that. It was all fake. Hell no. Ain't no way. No way whatsoever. I 100% believe she fell for real here. Because, part of it's also set and setting. Like, I think she got the job in order to, like, scope out the area. I think, she understood that, like, this is the general area. Maybe she sniffed out Chainsaw Man. I still don't quite know why Beam wasn't able to sniff her out, apart from just, like, maybe, with weapon humans, they don't have that much of a, like, devil scent to them. But I don't know. That can't be the case. Because Makima can smell the hell out of Pochita inside of Denji. Honestly, it might just be the rain. It might unironically just be, like, with dogs and whatnot. Like, rain does, like, the water literally takes the smell particles out of the air. It's possible that Beam literally just, like, because it happens to rain when Reze and Denji first met, he didn't clock anything there. And then he was naturally, keeping his distance when Denji and Reze were going on dates, so as not to piss off Denji. So I guess that does line up, actually. But yeah, God, the art is unbelievably good. Like, yeah, really, really, really hoping they can keep this art style going into, the next season of the anime, because it looks gorgeous. It is the ultimate, like, it feels like it's just the manga, but better. And I love the style of the manga, but I think the very start of the movie as well is really selling that feeling of, like, yeah, we can do the manga style. Like, don't get us wrong. We can nail it. It's really tough to animate in black and white. It's more expensive to animate in black and white than it is to animate in color, because the color, like, just makes it easier to to keep everything lined up. So this really feels like a flex of, we can do this, don't get us wrong. Like, we're going to be very cinematic, but, like, it's not because we can't also be one-to-one with the manga. But yeah, the Aki Angel dynamic, of course, fantastic. Like, I how do I put it? Just taking it as it is in this movie, it feels like, it's like a C plot. There's so little to it. But I think it's perfectly fine for what it is. Like, I've always loved Aki since the ball kicking festival, and, I really like Angel now. It took me a while to, like, really cotton on to him, but he is a tragic-ass character. If I went through what he went through, I would also just want to sit around and eat ice cream all day. And I genuinely do think, like, as I was saying, in this moment, I don't know what Makima would have told Angel, but I feel like she had to have, like, mildly set Angel against Aki, and vice versa. anyways. Everything else I think I more or less covered. Like, especially, due to the nature of, like, the first half being slower and the second half being faster. Like, don't think I have a lot to say about the second half that I didn't just express, which was mainly just, whoa, wow. Also, I was really nervous because I did not remember the name of this guy. I get why I don't remember his name. I don't think we got his name in the movie. I don't know if he has a name. Maybe we get his name in the next arc. But even then, I don't know if he's connected to, like, the assassins in the next arc. Like, he came here to, I don't quite know. Because also, like, I kind of misremembered a little bit that Typhoon was, like, more connected to Reze before they, like, connected. And, like, Typhoon knew Reze by name, and, like, as Reze, not just as Bomb Devil, or, like, like, Bomb, like, whatever. And, like, he did kill a guy in China, so maybe he was an assassin sent here. But also, like, Typhoon specifically seemed to have been a devil. Like, since the two of them have this hard contract of, he gets Typhoon Chainsaw's hearts, and in exchange, Typhoon will, give him infinite free uses forever. That really, really, really implies that, like, how did that happen? Maybe they got, like, they had, like, a co-contract situation. Or, I don't know. Like, maybe they got paired together Suicide Squad style? Unclear. But yeah, it's truly crazy that, like, in the first half, if you take him as the main antagonist, it's so funny to imagine the movie is just, what if Denji has a romance with a girl, and also there's the flattest, most generic, crazy guy you've ever seen is also the villain of this movie? But, like, he's the only menace we really have. I mean, up until the end. I mean, of course, Makima is an evil woman the entire way through. God. Oh, yeah, actually. Yeah, last thing. Because, we have the moment where Reze just directly says, oh, I didn't know that witch had her, had her claws in your hearts. what did they tell her? I assume for all of the assassins, they were just generally told, the chainsaw devil's heart is inside of this boy. Go get him. I guess that could also be a classic, like, you don't tell an assassin how dangerous the mission is because you want them to do it for cheaper, or you want them to actually take the mission, you don't want them to back out. I guess it could also be a literal move of, like, how do I put it? Intentionally not disclosing that Makima was involved, because if they all knew Makima was involved, they just wouldn't go for it. All I'm saying is the Soviet Union really should have prepared her a little bit better. But is that not also a parallel to Denji? Like, at the start of the movie, I legitimately didn't think we were even going to see a file, of Denji, that, like, of the files Makima was going through. I really thought she just didn't think enough of him to even bother writing a file. And, like, similarly, I doubt they really care that much about Reze, besides she's a weapon human. Like, we were able to make her work. Well, she's having a bad time, and she will continue to have a bad time forever. She deserves better. She really, really, really deserves better. Okay, that is the Reze arc. Thank you guys so much for watching this reaction. I don't actually know if it was good or not, but maybe I'll send it to someone first, then get their thoughts before I put this out officially, because we'll see. Okay, well, I hope you had a good time. I had a good time. Catch you for whatever I watch next or read next. If you like Chainsaw Man, I've got a bunch of Chainsaw Man reactions. I'm not caught up on the current Chainsaw Man stuff, but I will be. I'll take some time and do that. I mean, this has really ignited the Chainsaw Man drive inside of me. All right, I'll catch you next time. Bye for now. Yeah.